Well, welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. So today is our completed sales and pricing video for CGC 9.8 comics where, I just have a look on eBay this morning, check out what's selling in the CGC 9.8, and you just provide a little commentary, like maybe did they get a deal or did they overpay? And great full list to get through for sure. A good mixture of like some classics and some moderns. Yeah, a couple moderns to really get into that we don't cover too often. And I always say on these videos, like one of the best things you can do if you're actively buying CGC 9.8 comic books is just to get more information about the prices for the books that you want. Like know the fair value for the books that you want. And then, maybe if you want to overpay a little bit, you can and but you're never going to like egregiously overpay because there's always people on eBay and out there trying to get, the 30, 40, 50, 60% more than the fair market value for a book. So gotta watch out, and more information, you're just gonna never really overpay for a book. Okay, so a full list to get through here. They're all CGC 9.8s, all US dollars, all the prices we'll talk about. And I'll have a list in the description below of the issues and the prices you can have a look at. So first book is an Avengers Annual number 10. So this is the first appearance of Rogue and Madelyn Pryor. Saw a couple of these sell. One was for $614 in an auction. And the other one was $730 in a buy it now. So this is a book that is definitely perking up, and it's the whole XMen complex is kind of doing pretty well in values with the rumors X-Men coming back to the MCU. This book and kind of Uncanny X-Men 266, I think, kind of leading the way. Definitely going for more than what I was accustomed to, just sort of in the last 3 years of buying CGC 9.8. So Avengers Annual number 10. Not a cover I'm like crazy about or anything, but I mean, great first appearances. Awesome first appearances. Rogue's awesome. One went for $614 and another for $730. Next one is a modern book that for some reason I'm just like really attracted to this character, and it's a modern, so don't really have too many moderns, but it's a Teen Titans number 20 though. This is the first appearance of Crush, and the one that sold is the Jiminez variant. So the Jiminez variant is kind of the more rarer variant, I think, of, and I'm not like too on top of these modern books, but I'm pretty sure it's the more rarer variant. So first appearance of Crush is the stepdaughter of Lobo, I believe, and she just looks super badass. Like she's got a cool look to her, and I just find like I'm attracted to her as just the look of her and the character. Kind of a cool cover on this one too. Kind of a simple white but cool cover. So the Jiminez variant in this Teen Titans number 20 sold for $152 in an auction. So, there's a first print to this book too, and she's on the cover on that one, looking pretty cool. And those are, I think, still under $100 in the CGC 9.8 if you're looking at a more affordable alternative maybe. But this Jiminez variant is the more rare one. For $152, I think is a really kind of good price if you like this character, and this is a good book at a good price, even though it's a modern. And maybe because, for me, the character is just really cool, and I think there's potential there for maybe this one to increase in price more. Next one I saw sell is a Venom number 9. This was the animation variant that sold, which is a pretty sought-after book with the Spider-Man Noir animation variant on the cover. First Dylan Brock in this book, too, so it's a key issue as well. But it sold for $349.99. And, everything into the Spider-Verse is really hot right now, right? So I can understand why this went for $349.99, but I think, even if you really, really, really wanted this book, I'd have a hard time paying over $250 for this. So I think $349.99 probably going to be a bit of an overpay, although these animation variants seem to be really well collected, and I'm really happy. I bought the Spider-Man Miles Morales number 1 animation variant with Miles Morales animation. It's kind of the same style as this, but Miles Morales. I bought that for $100, and I bet that's going for kind of maybe that $250 to $300 area. This one's selling for $349, although first Dylan Brock, so it is a key, but a bit of an overpay, I think, but a very, popular book. Next one's kind of into the Spider-Verse theme. Marvel Tales number 1, so it's the first Spider-Ham, so Peter Porker, who this book just really kind of came out of nowhere with the Into the Spider-Verse appearances, I think. But 2 of them sold, I saw. One for $279.95, and another one for $287. So, yeah, and you know what? Like, I mean, this is a book I think even now it's still kind of underappreciated, and it might be a mistake to underappreciate this one. I think, alternate universe Spider-Mans are kind of the thing. And, this one I think is still kind of underappreciated, though, and maybe it is worth it kind of getting in there around, like 2 sold for kind of around the 275 level, 279.95, 287, so might be worth it to get in there around this price if you like this book. Next one that sold, G.I. Joe #1 in the newsstand. Yeah, we had just talked about this in the past couple of videos. Newsstand version, this one, and it sold for $549.99, and it was a buy it now, I believe, too. But, I mentioned on our last video that we talked about G.I. Joe as well, that some auctions, maybe about a month ago now, they had went for, one was like $540 and one was like $560, and I was like, wow, that is really expensive. I hadn't seen G.I. Joe #1, CGC 9.8 go that expensive. So yeah, it kind of seems like another one selling right around $549.99 that, maybe this is the new normal for now anyway. I would imagine this issue will be pretty tough to get leading up to that Snake Eyes movie, which seems to be getting some pretty good hype, and, people are really looking forward to it. So it's going to be tough to get a deal on this one, but it is, it's a great book. It's hard to not recommend it and say to be patient, but $549.99, maybe near the higher end. We documented one that sold for $490, so maybe that's more of a price to aim for. Next one is What If #105, First Spider-Girl. Yeah, this is a cool 90s book that's pretty tough to kind of get for a 90s book, and I think, it's pretty rare in the 9.8, I'm pretty sure. There's not too many of them. It's First Spider-Girl, May Parker, What If #105 for $375. Well, I saw one sell for. And I think I've saw this book go for over $400 on occasion as well. So that might be just right around the fair value for this book. Maybe if you're patient, closer to kind of $300. But one to consider, an interesting first appearance, being a 90s book and everything. What If #105. One to kind of easily overlook too, because it's like What If is not very well collected, I don't think. Next one is a really interesting one I wanted to just share when I saw it. Yeah, it's X-Men #103. So this is the first time ever in comics you hear Logan. And it's like someone's like, hey, Logan, calls Wolverine. He's like, hey, how'd you know my name? So that's pretty cool, I think. It doesn't say that on the CGC case or anything either, but X-Men #103 in the CGC 9.8, a really great looking one, sold for $775. And this is one where in the description, the seller was like, hey, I'm pricing this pretty fair, because I think this is one, it sold for $775. I think you could easily probably put this online for $1,500 or best offer, and it will probably sell for over $1,000. Kind of a fairly priced book, and an old book, a classic X-Men book. It was looking really good too, and the first time Logan's ever said X-Men 103 for $775. I think that's a pretty cool, great deal actually. New Teen Titans #2, saw one of these sell. First Deathstroke the Terminator. Interesting one here because it was an auction and it sold for $599. So that is not pretty near the higher end from what I'm used to. We had documented quite a few of these where they usually go just under $500, like $475, $489. A lot of auctions we've documented right around that price. So I think this was a good example though of the scans were looking pretty good and the colors were looking good. It was certainly a high grade CGC 9.8. And you mix that with an auction. I think a bit of a bidding war broke out for this one. So a little bit of an overpay for New Teen Titans #2. First Deathstroke the Terminator at $599. Hopefully $475 area is more doable. Maybe just over $500 because things are so hot right now. I think I kind of have to adjust my thinking a bit. But next one's a really cool DC one to consider. Tale of the Teen Titans #44. So it's the first Nightwing when, Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing. And some interesting prices because one sold for $250 and then another one in an auction sold for $181.09. So this is kind of a good example, I think, of a lot of times I'm always like, if you be patient, you get a little lucky in an auction, you might get it for a little bit cheaper. So this is just a good example of one in an auction went for $181.09 for a book that's doesn't really have any promotion right now, but it's a great key issue. This, yeah, a good example of a book that you can get in an auction for, less than the fair market value. And then one sold in a buy it now for $250. So the kind of the full range of prices on this one. And, $250 is not even like a terrible price for this book. I think I've saw some go for $250 quite often. I just think $181.09 in an auction is a great deal. And yeah, again, just a good example of some of the things I talk about when I'm like, if you're patient in an auction, you get lucky, you might get a deal, and this is what happens. But it's hard to get a deal. Yeah, that's the thing. I think some people might get a little frustrated that, maybe they're following my advice and being patient and they're just missing out on a lot of auctions. So, it kind of depends how much you want a book. If you really want a book, you'll have to put in a more aggressive bid. If you maybe you don't want a book, then you could be picky and be more patient and put them in, at a deal type of a bid. So next one here is a Red Hulk #1. This is a modern that I think I overlook a little bit too much, I think. It's a great modern to consider and has some potential. It's, first appearance of a hero, and certainly Red Hulk hasn't been on the screen yet, so there's that. But the first print of Red Hulk #1, a really collectible book, $264.99, one sold for. And, I remember some of these going for sort of that $225 to $250 area was a really good deal. So a decent deal on it, but, probably right around fair market value in this environment. So another modern book, a Thanos #13, the first appearance of Cosmic Ghost Rider. Yeah, the first print here I saw sell for $270. Yeah, this is one where, I mentioned before as, being pretty surprised that it was a, pretty expensive book. Certainly the Cosmic Ghost Rider has its fans, and Donny Cates really has his fans too, and, people really love his stories. And, this one, I think, I saw some before go for around $250, but I think right now, everything's kind of hot, and $270 is pretty much a fair value for Thanos #13, first Cosmic Ghost Rider, the first print version one. Next one is one that I'm hunting actually right now. It's a Spawn #306, the McFarlane Gunslinger variant. So if anyone thinks McFarlane doesn't have it anymore, just check out this cover of Spawn 306, the McFarlane Gunslinger variant. Saw one sell for in the 9.8 for $133.40. And we documented one that had sold for $110. So, maybe that's the range. And I just think this is a great book. It's a book I want. It just seems everyone I've sort of saw, or all my searches, that the shipping's just really crazy to Canada. And I haven't seen any of them pop up in Canada in the CGC 9.8. So, haven't got mine yet, but hopefully that range might be sort of 110 to 140 for this one. Spawn 306, McFarlane Gunslinger variant, a brand new book, but a great cover, a really awesome cover. It's just instantly wanted it. So that's kind of one I am certainly actively searching. I find myself. Saw an Amazing Spider-Man 298 sell. First Todd McFarlane Spider-Man one we just talked about, sell for $315, and I had been sort of in the last 3 years used to this kind of going for $275, $260, $280. But most of the listings now are just over $300. I think the fair market value is about $315 basically. So one to consider, Amazing Spider-Man 298. An Uncanny X-Men 142 sold. So one that I have and a cover that I really loved when I was a kid. Classic Sentinel cover always stuck out in my mind, and Days of Future Past Part 1 and 2 was such a great story, and I know when I got into 9.8s, I knew I wanted to have Days of Future Past Part 1 and 2. And I saw an Uncanny X-Men 142 sell, though, just like this one, too, in the newsstand. It sold for $329. And I paid right around, I think it was $270 for mine or something like that. So, I don't know if this one's just heating up with the whole X-Men complex. It could be that, but maybe a tad of an overpay. Hopefully look to get this one maybe no more than $300. An interesting book right now, X-Men #4, the first appearance of Omega Red, an early 90s book. A newsstand version of this book sold for $264. And, I mean, this is just, obviously if anyone doesn't believe that movie rumors and announcements don't affect prices, just look at this book, because, Omega Red's supposed to be maybe one of the new MCU villains or something like that. I don't know exactly the details, but this book, for, me collecting for the last 3 years, You could get the direct for about $100, and the newsstand was like $130. Maybe you'd pay up maybe a little bit more of that if you wanted it really bad. But there's a bunch of these printed. An early '90s book. X-Men was like the most popular comic back then, so it's a well-printed book. And I just remember them. Yeah, the directs I remember a lot going for like less than $100, and even those are really perking up now. So yeah, it's one that's not rare in the 9.8, and cool Jim Lee cover, but I think people are just buying it because Omega Red's going to be in a movie, and I mean, if you didn't like it before the announcement, I probably wouldn't purchase it for this price. Next one, Amazing Spider-Man 361. First full appearance of Carnage, yeah, classic 90s book. We talked about it on a recent video here. New completed listing, though, just in the past day here, I believe it was, went for $479. So for a direct version, that's, that seems pretty expensive to me, but I think in this environment, that's probably about bang on fair. We did cover document one where it went for $429.99, and that's kind of the cheapest that I've saw on eBay since that sort of Let There Be Carnage announcement happened. So, sort of used to seeing this book for like $350, $360 in the last 3 years. So this one is heating up as well, and will probably continue to be pretty hot until after the Let There Be Carnage Venom 2 movie. So next one is a Batman the Killing Joke. Saw one of these sell. And we'll go over some details here because a good example, I think. One sold for $225. And Batman the Killing Joke is a book where there is, I believe, there might be even 3,000, but I think there's 2,000 and something CGC 9.8s out there. So there's just a ton of CGC 9.8s. It's not a very rare book in the CGC 9.8. So $225 for me is kind of near the higher end of fair market value. So for a book where there's just so many 9.8s out there, I think you want to be really patient on these type of books where they're just really popular. There's tons of 9.8s. There's always going to be new ones popping up on eBay. So you always want to kind of pay near the lower end of fair market value for a book like this where there's multiple thousands of them on the census. So, like, I remember an auction 2 months ago, probably it was. Batman the Killing Joke went for like $144 in an auction for CGC 9.8 in an auction. So one going for $225 I think is kind of near the higher end of the fair market value. And, hopefully for sure you get this like for about $175 and, hopefully closer to $150. Because, yeah, again, there's so many 9.8s out there, you could be really patient on the ones where there's just tons of 9.8s because they're all, again, new ones going to be popping up all the time. So no reason to really pay over fair market value. Next one is Year the Villain, Hell Arisen #3. Yeah, some of these new Punchline. This is the first full appearance of Punchline. Saw one go for $132.95 and another one go for $130.01 for Hell Arisen #3, the first full appearance of Punchline. That was Batman '89. Saw the one sell too. We'll do that one. $123.51 saw that one sell. So just under Hell Arisen #3. And Batman '89 is kind of the it's the first appearance of Punchline, but her face is hidden. And then Hell Arisen #3 is first full appearance of Punchline. And the Hell Arisen I really love the Batman '89 cover. It's awesome. The Hell Arisen #3 cover is just, there's something about it that it kind of growing on me a little bit more. And I really like that cover actually too. So I could see why maybe it's going for a little bit more. And then it's the first full appearance as well. But next book here is an Eternals #1. So yeah, this is a book that really heated up with like the announcement that there was going to be the Eternals movie, but I think it's lulling now with everything's been sort of pushed off till next year, including the Eternals. But Eternals #1, it sold for $899, CGC 9.8 white pages. And I saw quite a few of these around that announcement time go for over $1,000. So this is one that you could probably get in here, and if you like the Eternals and you want this one, $899, maybe even $800 is doable in this environment. I actually think that's a pretty decent deal for this book, and then you'll probably enjoy the prices you see during the Eternals movie, and if it's a big hit, yeah, this is probably about the time to buy it, to be honest, yeah, because it does seem to be lulling in price a little bit. Next one is a Watchmen #1, so one sold for $495. So yeah, kind of a late 80s key, kind of a cult-followed book and series, and obviously the movies came, and they're pretty well followed too. But $495, I've saw them in the past go for over 500, but I saw them in auctions go for like right bang on around 400 as well. So kind of, I think a book that sort of heats up every now and then because of whatever it might be, a Watchmen movie or some rumor or whatever. $4.95 could be maybe near the higher end of the range. I think sort of like the $4.25 area is doable in this book. Watchmen #1, CGC 9.8. So saw a new listing, a new completed listing, a new sale for Ultimate Follow 4. Yeah, a first print. This one, Ultimate Follow 4, CGC 9.8. One just sold. I think it was just in the last like 24 hours here for $1,090 on eBay. So you know, they sort of ran up maybe 2-3 weeks ago was the peak where they were 1,300, 1,400 for a bit. A couple sold. And I think a couple are selling now for like 900, sort of, you know, in that area. And, you know, one going for $1,090. Like, there's going to be so much promotion going forward here for this book in the next year or two with Into the Spider-Verse coming out. And there's like so many rumors of a live-action Miles Morales movie too. So, you know, maybe in those lulls, if you want to buy this book, maybe in the lulls around $900 is, you know, a decent play maybe. Because, yeah, and I do have a feeling there we'll certainly see higher prices, I think, just because of, like I said, there's going to be so much promotion activity. I could almost just tell. But, yeah, one went for $1,090. Ultimate Fall #4, the first print. Last book on the list here, an Avengers 684, first appearance of Immortal Hulk. Saw one sell for $135. And, yeah, I grabbed mine. It was, like 90 something. I think it was like 90, yeah, $95, let's call it, I think. So maybe this is kind of heating up with the overall market, you know, going for $135, Avengers 684. A really cool modern key. It's not like anything rare in the 9.8 to write home about, but first, Immortal Hulk is cool. And I have this one, and I have Immortal Hulk #1, which I love that cover. The first print, Alex Ross homage cover. I love that cover. So, yeah, Avengers 684, if you're a big Hulk fan, is a modern book to consider for sure for $135. Alright, that'll be it that's the full list. Now, I will say, I didn't really get into any team books this week. Usually I get submissions from the team if someone's saw a completed sale or bought something themselves, they'll let me know. I just really slacked on taking notes because I have to take notes, otherwise they get lost in kind of my direct messages. So, yeah, I kind of dropped the ball on that. But if you do have any completed listings that you're seeing or you bought a CGC 9.8, let me know on Instagram. I'll try to include it on the next video. I want to definitely get back into, I really like doing the team submissions. But still, this week, a great full list of some really interesting prices. Yeah, some awesome key issues that sold. And I think, you know, the market's still hot. Yeah, it's still kind of the summer heat wave here for collectibles, and apparently it's all collectibles too, but yeah, I think the CGC 9.8 market's doing really well and not really showing any sign of slowing down. And, you know, there's been a lot of people over the last 3-4, oh, it's going to crash, like over the last 3-4 months, it's going to crash and this and that and this and that. Like, it's, you know, I think, yeah, even on the upside we need to take a breath, but on the, like, doomsday downside, like, people need to chill out a little bit sometimes too, maybe. Okay, if you haven't already, that would be all for the video though. If you haven't already, I'd invite you to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8. Hit the bell to get all the latest notifications. Add me on Instagram and Twitter as well. I'll have all the links in the description below. As well, yeah, full list in the description below with the prices as well if you want to have a quick look. But yeah, interesting prices, and thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate all the support, and message me on Instagram too. It's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me if you have a question, if you want to talk about anything. Alright, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.